And one of all, we are going to be going over two-step inequalities today. Well, right away, we realize that there are only going to be 12 questions. That means Mr. Meadows will do 6 of them. I'm expecting to do all the even ones. Let's go ahead and work on number 1. We've got solve each inequality, graph the solution set on the number line. So not only do we have to solve it, we're going to have to graph it as well. Well, let's start with this first one. We got x over 2 minus 1 is less than 5. Right away, I remember I want to deal with x last. So I've got to deal with this negative 1 first. I can combine it with 5 because they're like terms. So what is the opposite of negative 1? Positive 1. Well, now that I got positive 1 here, I have to remember whatever I do on one side, I will do on the other side. Suddenly, the equation's a little bit smaller. Excuse me, the inequality is a little bit smaller. We've got x over 2 and is smaller than, we're not going to put 0 here because 1 minus 1 is 0. We're going to put this less than symbol, and then we have 5 plus 1. Well, 5 plus 1 is 6. Now we go into the division problem that we have here. Remember, every fraction is really a division problem. We have x is divided by 2. To go ahead and get the answer to this, I have to remember that I'm going to have to multiply it by the denominator. So if I go ahead and find its reciprocal, I've really got 2 over 1. This puts me 2 over 2, which eliminates these, and gives me x over 1. Now I've got x all by itself. But remember, whatever I've done to one side, I have to do the other side. So I'll have to multiply this side by 2 over 1 as well. And if I do that, I see that I have 6 times 2 over 1. Well, 6 times 2, that's 12. And, well, that's really 6 over 1, right? So we've got 1 times 1. This is just going to simply give me x is smaller than 12. X is less than 12. So it doesn't say less than or equal to. We're going to go to the 12 and make a circle here because it doesn't include 12. Since x is less than 12, our arrow is going to go to everything that's to the left of 12. All right, and that's how we do number 1. Let's go ahead and try number 3. Number 3 says that we've got negative 2 plus 3x is greater than negative 23. Well, right away, I see that I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to deal with the number that is a like term of 23, and that's at negative 2. And so I'm going to go ahead and add 2 to this side, which will make it 2 minus 2. That'll give me 0. And of course, that means I'll have to add it to this side. And if I do that, I got negative 23 plus 2. That's going to give me a negative 21. My symbol stays the same. And now I have 3 x's left. All right, now I see I got 3x is greater than a negative 21. All right, so now I've got to get x by itself. I want to separate that 3 from it. Now, the only way to go ahead is to do the opposite of multiplication. That's what we have here, 3 times x. And that's division. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 3x by 3. I'm dividing it by its coefficient. And by doing that, I eliminate the 3. I have 3 over 3, which leaves me x. But remember, whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. So now I have a negative 21 divided by 3. Well, as I said before, x is all by itself now. And the less than symbol stays the same. I did not divide or multiply by a negative number. And that leaves me with negative 21 divided by 3, which is negative 7. So I'm going to go to negative 7. Once then, again, it's just a less than symbol, so I will not shade it in. And I know that x is greater than negative 7. And everything greater is always towards the plus side, not towards the minus side. So I'm going to say that everything to my right of negative 7 is where my arrow is going to lead to. All right, we're going to number 5 next. And I'm going to work a little quicker here. We got 10 is greater than or equal to x over 3 plus 6. Right away, I'm going to subtract my 6. That'll give me 6 minus 6, which gives me 0, but whatever I do to one side, I'll do to the other. That's going to give me 10 minus 6. Well, that's going to leave me with 4. My symbol stays the same so far. And I have x over 3. Once again, because my numerator, that my denominator is 3, I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 1. Okay. And if I do this to this side, I have to do it to this side. Why did I pick 3 over 1? Well, that's pretty easy to see. I want to get my 3's crossed out, so I have x over 1. This leaves me with x all by itself. Notice, I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative number. So this is going to leave me with my x alone. My symbol is going to stay the same. And now I have 3 times 4, well, that's 12. So 12 is greater than or equal to x. Let's go to 12. Now it's greater than or equal, so this time I'm going to put my dot and shade it in, because it includes 12. And since x is smaller than 12, that means I know that everything smaller than 12 is included in the answer. All right, let's go ahead and go to number 7. Number 7 states 13 is greater than 3 plus 2x. Well, again, I can take a positive or a negative 3, to this side, which would get rid of my 3. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. And that's going to give me 13 minus 3, which is 10. Now I have is the greater than symbol. And over here I have 2x. All right, when I put these together, I see that I have 2 times x. So I have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So I'm going to divide it by the coefficient 2. But whatever I divide from one side, I have to do the other side. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I did not divide or multiply by a negative number. So my symbol is going to stay the same. And since I've gotten rid of my 2's, that leaves me with 5 is greater than x. I'll come over here to where 5 is. I'll put my circle here. I will not shade it in because it doesn't include 5. And then I'm going to say that x is smaller than 5. So I know my line's going to go towards my left. All right, we're on number 9 now. Number 9. This is as good a time as any to give you a code word. My code word for this sheet is going to be, let's go with yellow rosebuds. All right, yellow rosebuds is the code word that we will be looking to get goodies from Mr. Mendez when you come in on Wednesday. Yellow rosebuds. And I'm going to go ahead and erase that now. So only the people that really watch the video will know. And now we're at number 9. We have -4 plus x over 5 is less than a -4. And if I go ahead and work this, I see that I have to take +4 to this side, so I can get rid of that 4. Of course, that means I'm going to take +4 to this side. Uh-oh, we're in a bit of a problem area here now, aren't we? If I add 4 to both sides, that's going to give me x over 5 is less than, 4 minus 4 is 0. Wow, this should be pretty interesting, because now we have to multiply. Remember, the turning this upside down, if I'm doing division, I'm going to do multiplication now. So I'll be multiplying 5 over 1 to both sides, which doesn't give me too much headache over here at all, does it? I've eliminated my 5, which gives me my x all by itself. I didn't divide by a negative number, so or multiply, so my symbol stays the same. And 0 times 5, well, that's 0. So x is actually smaller than 0. I'm going to come to 0 and put my circle. And since x is smaller than 0, everything to the left of 0 is going to be, well, that's where the arrow is going to be pointing toward. All right, we're on the last one, number 11. And this time I've got -6 is less than or equal to -4 minus 2x. Let's give this one a shot. If I do, I see that I've got this pesky -4 over here by my x, so I've got to get rid of it first. I'll add 4. Whenever I add 4 to one side, I've got to add it to another. That's going to give me -6 plus 4. Well, -6 plus 4 is going to give me -2. My symbol stays the same so far because I have not multiplied or divided by a negative number. And what's left is a -2x on this side. Now this time I'm going to have to divide because I'm multiplying my -2x. I've got to do the opposite, which means I'm going to divide -2 from -2x. If I do this, I realize that I am dividing by a negative number this time. If I'm dividing by a negative number, I've got to realize that I'll be changing my symbol around. So I'm going to switch it right now before I forget. If I divide this from this side, that tells me this is x all alone over here. And now I have to divide -2 from this side. But -2 divided by -2 is going to equal 1. So that's going to give me 1. I go to 1. I have to shade it in because it does include 1. And then I see that x is actually smaller than or equal to 1. Smaller than or equal to 1. So once again, my line is going to go toward the left. My arrow is going to point that way because x is less than 1. All right, I did all the odd ones. Good luck with the even ones, and I will see you Wednesday. Have a good one.